The aroma of roasted turkey and pumpkin pie filled my parents' house as I pulled into the driveway in my modest Honda Civic. I deliberately chose this car despite being able to afford much more. 5 years of keeping my success hidden was about to end, not by choice, but because of my father's newest business disaster. I adjusted my simple sweater and grabbed the apple pie I'd bought from the local bakery. To my family, I was still Emma, the disappointment, who left the family business to start her own company. The daughter who abandoned them to pursue her silly tech dreams. "Oh, you finally made it," Mom said as she opened the door, her voice carrying that familiar tone of disapproval. "And store-bought pie again? Really, Emma?" I bit back a retort. If she only knew that I owned the entire chain of bakeries that made this pie. Inside, the tension was already thick. Dad sat in his usual armchair, looking older than his 58 years, while my younger brother Michael paced near the fireplace, occasionally checking his phone with nervous energy. "Emma," Dad nodded curtly, not bothering to get up. "Nice of you to join us." "Happy Thanksgiving, Dad," I replied, setting the pie on the counter. Something was off. The usual holiday bustle was missing, replaced by an uncomfortable silence. Mom wrung her hands on her apron. Let's eat first. Everything's ready." We gathered around the dining table, the same one where Dad had told me 5 years ago that I was making the biggest mistake of my life by leaving the family's struggling manufacturing business. "You'll come crawling back," he'd said. "Nobody makes it in tech without connections." The irony wasn't lost on me. Halfway through the awkward dinner, Dad cleared his throat. "Emma, we need to discuss something important." "Here it comes," I thought. "The business. We're in trouble," he admitted, his voice rough. "We need $2 million by the end of the month or we'll lose everything. The house, the factory, everything." Mom dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. Michael stared at his plate. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said carefully, taking a sip of water. "Well," Dad demanded, "aren't you going to help?" I set down my glass. "How exactly am I supposed to help? I'm just a silly tech entrepreneur, remember?" That's when Michael exploded. "Cut the act, Emma. We know about the money." My heart stopped for a moment. "What money?" Mom pulled out a business magazine from beside her chair and slapped it on the table. There I was on page 32, rising tech star, Emma Carter's secure share platform valued at $100 million. $12 million, Dad said, his voice rising. "You have $12 million in your account from selling shares and you didn't tell us? Your own family." I looked at the magazine, then at their expectant faces. "You've been investigating me?" "Michael's friend works in finance," Mom said. "He found out about your company's latest valuation. How could you keep this from us? After everything we've done for you? Everything you've done for me?" I couldn't help but laugh. "You mean like telling me I was throwing my life away? Like refusing to support my company when I asked for a small loan to start it? Like telling everyone in town that I was a failure?" "That's all in the past," Dad waved his hand dismissively. "Family helps family. We need $2 million. You have 12. It's simple math." I pushed my plate away, no longer hungry. "Simple math? Like when you told me I was bad at business. Or when you said my company would never succeed." "Now, Emma," Mom started, her voice sickly sweet. "We may have been wrong before, but we're still your parents. We gave you everything. We deserve dash. You deserve." I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. "You deserve my money because what? Because your family? The same family that laughed at my dreams." Michael jumped in. "Come on, sis. You have more than enough. Don't be selfish." I looked at each of them, the father who had dismissed me, the mother who had belittled me, and the brother who had mocked me. Now they wanted my help? Now I was worthy of being family? "I'll think about it," I said finally, grabbing my coat. "Where are you going?" Dad demanded. "We're not finished here." I turned at the door, a small smile playing on my lips. "Oh, we're not finished at all. In fact, we're just getting started. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Monday is going to be very interesting." As I walked to my car, I could hear them calling after me, but I didn't look back. They had no idea what was coming. Sometimes karma needs a little push, and I was about to push back hard. The weekend passed in a blur of ignored calls and text messages from my family. Each one more desperate than the last. "Emma, please be reasonable." "Mom, you're making a big mistake." "Dad, Don't be so selfish, sis. Michael. I sat in my home office, reviewing the documents my private investigator had compiled over the last 3 years. Yes, I'd been watching them too, gathering information while they thought I was failing. The file on my desk told an interesting story about my father's struggling business. Monday morning arrived crisp and clear. I dressed carefully in a tailored black suit, finally allowing myself to look the part of the successful CEO I was. No more hiding. As I drove my Civic to my parents' factory, I smiled at the familiar Carter Manufacturing sign. By tomorrow that sign would be gone. The security guard's eyes widened as I walked in. He knew me as the owner's daughter who'd failed, but my attitude today was different. Miss Carter. I didn't know you were visiting today. I'm not visiting, George, I replied kindly. I'm here for the board meeting. Board meeting? I don't have any board meetings scheduled. You will in about 10 minutes. Right on cue, several expensive cars pulled into the parking lot. Board members and major shareholders emerged, looking grim. My father's Mercedes screeched into his reserved spot moments later. He jumped out, face red with anger. What are you doing here? He demanded, rushing toward me. And why are the board members showing up? I didn't call a meeting. No, Dad. I did. I held up a folder. As the owner of 42% of Carter Manufacturing's shares. He stumbled back as if I'd slapped him. What? That's impossible. Remember Jason Wheeler? Your old partner who sold his shares 3 years ago? He sold them to my holding company. You were too proud to even check who the buyer was. The blood drained from his face. You've been planning this? Let's take this inside, shall we? The board is waiting. The conference room filled quickly. My mother and Michael arrived last, having been called by Dad. They sat in the corner looking confused and angry. I stood at the head of the table, my father's usual spot. Thank you all for coming on such short notice. I've called this emergency meeting to address some concerning issues about Carter Manufacturing's management. You have no right. Dad started to rise, but the board chairman, Mr. Peterson, cut him off. Actually, Mr. Carter, as a major shareholder, your daughter has every right. Please continue, Ms. Carter. I opened my folder and began distributing documents. Over the past 3 years, I've documented numerous instances of financial mismanagement, including personal expenses being charged to the company, unauthorized loans to family members. I glanced at Michael, who suddenly found the floor very interesting, and most recently an attempt to secure funds through fraudulent loan applications. The board members murmured as they reviewed the evidence. Mom gasped. Dad's face turned from red to white. Additionally, I continued, I have proof that Dad has been selling company assets at below-market rates to his friends, who then resell them for profit, splitting the difference with him. These are lies. Dad shouted, but his voice trembled. Are they? I projected an email chain onto the screen. These communications between you and buyers tell a different story. Mr. Peterson cleared his throat. This is very concerning, George. Very concerning indeed. I move for an immediate vote of no confidence in the current management, I announced. And I propose a complete restructuring of the company leadership. The vote was quick and unanimous. By lunchtime, my father was no longer CEO of Carter Manufacturing. As the board members filed out, my family remained shell-shocked. Why? Mom whispered. Why would you do this to your own family? I laughed softly. Family? You want to talk about family now? When did you consider me family? When you needed my money? You've destroyed everything. Michael shouted. No, I corrected him. I saved everything. This company was 3 months from bankruptcy because of Dad's mismanagement. I'm keeping everyone's jobs, restructuring the debt, and modernizing the operations. I turned to my father. The only thing I'm destroying is your fantasy that you could keep stealing from this company while claiming I was the failure. Dad slumped in his chair, defeated. What happens now? I gathered my documents, straightening them carefully. Now you get to watch how a silly tech entrepreneur runs a real business. And about that $2 million you needed. I smiled. Consider this my investment in the family legacy. As I walked out, leaving them sitting in the conference room, I heard my mother start to cry. But for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just proving them wrong. It's saving them from themselves whether they like it or not. 3 months after the takeover, Carter Manufacturing was unrecognizable. The old, dingy offices had been renovated into modern workspaces. The factory floor hummed with new equipment, and employee morale had skyrocketed thanks to the improved working conditions and better benefits I'd implemented. I sat in what used to be my father's office, now transformed into a sleek command center for the company's operations. The old leather furniture and hunting trophies were gone, replaced by clean lines and digital displays showing real-time production metrics. Sarah, my assistant, knocked on the door. "Your parents are here for the monthly family meeting." These meetings had been my idea, a chance for healing but on my terms. The first 2 meetings had been tense disasters with Dad barely speaking and Mom crying. Today would be different. They entered looking smaller somehow. Dad had lost weight and Mom's designer clothes had been replaced by more modest attire. 3 months without access to company funds had changed their lifestyle considerably. "Sit down," I gestured to the chairs. "We have a lot to discuss." Dad cleared his throat. "Before we start, we've been doing some thinking." "And therapy," Mom added quietly. I raised an eyebrow but stayed silent. "You were right," Dad continued, the words seeming to physically pain him. "I destroyed this company. My pride. My stubbornness." He looked around the office. "What you've done here in 3 months, I couldn't do in 30 years. The company's value has tripled," I stated. "Employee satisfaction is up 85%. We've secured contracts with major tech firms for our new line of precision components." "I know," he nodded. "George from the floor told me. They all love working here now." Mom reached for my hand across the desk. I let her take it, surprising myself. "We were wrong about you, Emma. So wrong." Tears filled her eyes. "When you left, we were angry because we thought you were rejecting us. We never considered that we were the ones rejecting you." "And Michael?" I asked. "Where is he today?" "He's at Anderson Manufacturing," Dad said. "Entry level. No favors, no company money. He's learning the hard way." I opened my laptop. "Here's the 5-year plan. With our contracts and upgrades, we can be the top manufacturer in 3 states. Dad's eyes widened at the numbers. "I'm offering you both jobs," I said. "Not as owners, just employees. Dad, train new hires on old machines. Mom, use your contacts for outreach." They looked shocked. "You trust us?" Mom asked. "Trust is earned," I said. "Entry level only. No favors, no company funds. Report to your supervisors like everyone else. Take it or leave it." Dad's hands shook as he signed. "When do we start?" "Monday." "Him. Don't be late." At the door, Dad paused. "That Thanksgiving, you already owned half the company, didn't you?" I smiled. "Enough to know you were in trouble. The $12 million you wanted, I invested it here. Saved the business and hundreds of jobs." "I'm sorry," he said. "Prove it," I replied. After they left, I walked the factory floor. Workers nodded as I passed. I stopped at a photo of the 1985 team with my grandfather. Under was a plaque. "The future is built on the foundation of the past. But only those who adapt will survive." My phone buzzed. Michael texted, "Made it through my first week. Thanks for the wake-up call, sis." I smiled back. "Keep it up. Maybe in a few years you can work here. Entry level, of course. Sometimes the best revenge is helping people change, even if you have to tear down their world first." The $12 million had gone exactly where it should, into teaching them the value of real work and success.